She quickly became a very important part of our school community. In a short amount of time, she made a lasting impact through her determination, positivity, and the connections that she built with both students and staff. Tonight, she represents the strength, resilience, and growth that we celebrate in all of our graduates. So please join me in welcoming Nevaeh.
Thank you for the applause. All right, so Chris and Wedding asked me to write a speech for my fellow graduates along with staff and administrative. So I wrote, good evening everyone, administrators, teachers, staff, family, friends, and most importantly, my fellow graduates. Standing here today feels strange because for a long time I wasn't always sure what today would look like. I think when people imagine graduation, they picture excitement, celebration, smiles, and the feeling of crossing the finish line. And yes, today is all of those things. But I think for many of us, graduation is also something else. It's proof that we made it. Because sometimes making it wasn't about getting straight A's, joining clubs, or having a perfect plan for the future. Sometimes making it meant getting out of bed when your mind was telling you not to. Sometimes it meant pretending you were okay because you didn't know how to explain what you were feeling. Sometimes making it simply meant surviving another day. People see us today in our caps and gowns and think they know our stories. They see a graduate. They see someone celebrating an achievement, but they don't see the nights. They don't see the silent battles. They don't see the pressure, the fear, the anxiety, or the moments when we questioned ourselves. They don't see the days where our minds felt heavier than our backpacks. Mental struggles don't always look the way people expect them to. Sometimes they aren't loud. Sometimes they don't announce themselves. Sometimes they look like sitting in a class and staring at a paper while your mind is somewhere else. Sometimes they look like losing motivation for things you once loved. Sometimes they look like smiling. Sorry, I lost my place. Smiling around people while feeling completely exhausted on the inside. And one of the hardest things about struggling mentally is that you can feel surrounded by people and still feel alone. There are people here today who fought battles no one ever saw. Battles with anxiety, battles with self-doubt, battles with feeling like they weren't enough, battles with feeling lost. And even if nobody knew what you were carrying, you carried it anyway. You kept walking anyway, you kept going anyway. I think that deserves recognition, because perseverance isn't always big moments and dramatic speeches. Perseverance is answering your alarm after only sleeping a few hours. It's walking into school when your heart feels heavy. It's completing one assignment when your mind is telling you to give up on everything. It's deciding that maybe tomorrow deserves a chance. I also know that for some people, school wasn't the only difficult thing. For some of us, home wasn't always a place of peace. Family struggles have a way of following you everywhere. They don't stay at the front door when you leave for school. They sit in the back of your mind during class. They stay with you during lunch. They wait for you when you get home. Some people have experienced divorce. Some people have experienced loss. Some people have experienced financial struggles. Some people have carried responsibilities that no other age should have had to carry. Some people learn how to be strong before they even have the chance to be kids. And when you grow up dealing with family problems, you sometimes become good at hiding it. You learn how to say, I'm fine. How to smile when you feel like you're breaking on the inside. You learn how to continue moving even when you're tired. But carrying so much for so long can become exhausting. I think many of us spent years wondering when things would finally become easier, wondering when we would stop feeling overwhelmed, and if all of our effort was worth it. But if there's one thing I learned through every difficult day, every setback, every moment I wanted to quit, it's this. You don't have to have everything figured out to keep moving forward. You don't have to be fearless to be brave. You don't have to feel strong every day to be strong. Strength isn't pretending nothing hurts. Strength is continuing even when it does, because perseverance isn't about never struggling. It's about struggling and continuing anyway. Yes. And for some insight into how things are into my life currently, I just said goodbye to my dad last night and walked out on him. And I also almost got trafficked the other day. So perseverance is a strong thing. And I think that's something our class understands better than people realize. We know what it feels like to fail and try again. We know what it feels like to doubt ourselves. We know what it feels like to feel overwhelmed by school, by life, by expectations, by uncertainty, but we're still here. Somehow, after every difficult day, every stressful test, every disappointment, every heartbreak, every tear, and every moment where we thought we couldn't keep going, we're still here. And I think that's incredible. There were days where some of us only had enough energy to make it through that one day, not next week, not next month, just that day. And maybe that doesn't sound like much to everyone else, but for the people that understand that feeling, it's everything. Because surviving one difficult day turns into surviving another, and another, and another. And eventually, one day, you look around and realize those days brought you here, to graduation, to this moment, to a room full of people who have all fought battles that others may never fully understand. As we leave here and begin the next chapter of our lives, I don't think life suddenly becomes easy. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments where we feel uncertain. There will still be days where things feel overwhelming. But now we know something we didn't know before. We know what we're capable of surviving. We know that we've already made it through difficult things. And we know that we've already faced days that felt impossible. And we also know that we're stronger than we give ourselves credit for. To everyone graduating today, be proud of yourself, not just for the grades you earned, or the awards you've won, or the diploma you're receiving. Be proud of yourself for every day you thought you couldn't do it but did it anyway. Be proud of yourself for staying. Be proud of yourself for continuing and making it here. Because today isn't only a celebration of yourself for making it here, it is also a celebration of growth. It's a celebration of every version of ourselves that almost gave up but kept going. And before I finish, I want everyone here to remember one thing. You have already survived days that you thought would break you, and you're still standing. So as we walk across the stage and into the next chapter of our lives, don't forget where you came from, and don't forget what it took to get here. Because sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones who never struggled. Sometimes they're the people who woke up every day and carried everything they were carrying and kept going anyway. Congratulations, class of 2026. We made it, and thank you.
Thank you, Nevaeh. That was a beautiful speech. Very, nice. All right, at this time, I would like to introduce someone who has played an incredibly important